Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. The benefits of virtue. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's monastery. At that time, the Venerable Ananda approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him, and asked, "What, Lord, is the benefit of virtuous ways of conduct? What is their reward?" Non-remorse, Ananda, is the benefit and reward of virtuous ways of conduct. And what, Lord, is the benefit and reward of non-remorse? Gladness, Ananda. And what, Lord, is the benefit and reward of gladness? Joy. And what, Lord, is the benefit and reward of joy? Serenity. And what, Lord, is the benefit and reward of serenity? Happiness. And what, Lord, is the benefit and reward of happiness? Concentration of the mind. And what, Lord, is the benefit and reward of concentration? Knowledge and vision of things as they really are. And what, Lord, is the benefit and reward of knowledge and vision of things as they really are? Revulsion and dispassion. And what, Lord, is the benefit and reward of revulsion and dispassion? The knowledge and vision of liberation. Hence, Ananda, virtuous ways of conduct have non-remorse as their benefit and reward. Non-remorse has gladness as its benefit and reward. Gladness has joy as its benefit and reward. Joy has serenity as its benefit and reward. Serenity has happiness as its benefit and reward. Happiness has concentration as its benefit and reward. Concentration has knowledge and vision of things as they really are as its benefit and reward. Knowledge and vision of things as they really are has revulsion and dispassion as its benefit and reward. Revulsion and dispassion have the knowledge and vision of liberation as their benefit and reward. In this way, Ananda, virtuous ways of conduct lead step by step to the highest. Lawfulness of Progress. For one who is virtuous and endowed with virtue, there is no need for an act of will. May non-remorse arise in me. It is a natural law, monks, that non-remorse will arise in one who is virtuous. For one free of remorse, there is no need for an act of will. May gladness arise in me. It is a natural law that gladness will arise in one who is free from remorse. For one who is glad at heart, there is no need for an act of will. May joy arise in me. It is a natural law that joy will arise in one who is glad at heart. For one who is joyful, there is no need for an act of will. May my body be serene. It is a natural law that the body will be serene for one who is joyful. For one of serene body, there is no need for an act of will. May I feel happiness. It is a natural law that one who is serene will feel happiness. For one who is happy, there is no need for an act of will. May my mind be concentrated. It is a natural law for one who is happy that the mind will be concentrated. For one who is concentrated, there is no need for an act of will. May I know and see things as they really are. It is a natural law for one with a concentrated mind to know and see things as they really are. For one who knows and sees things as they really are, there is no need for an act of will. May I experience revulsion and dispassion. It is a natural law for one who knows and sees things as they really are to experience revulsion and dispassion. For one who experiences revulsion and dispassion, there is no need for an act of will. May I realize the knowledge and vision of liberation. It is a natural law for one who experiences revulsion and dispassion to realize the knowledge and vision of liberation. Thus, monks, revulsion and dispassion have knowledge and vision of liberation as their benefit and reward. Continued in conformity back to virtuous ways of conduct have non-remorse as their benefit and reward. Thus, monks, the preceding qualities flow into the succeeding qualities. The succeeding qualities bring the preceding qualities to perfection, for going from the near shore to the far shore. The meditative experience of Nibbana. Once the Venerable Ananda approached the Blessed One and asked, "Can it be, Lord, that a monk attains to such a concentration of mind that in earth he is not percipient of earth, nor in water is he percipient of water, nor in fire, air, the base of the infinity of space, the base of the infinity of consciousness, the base of nothingness, the base of neither perception nor non-perception, is he percipient of all these, nor is he percipient of this world or a world beyond, but yet he is percipient." Yes, Ananda, there can be such a concentration of mind that in earth he is not percipient of earth, nor is he percipient of this world or a world beyond, but yet he is percipient. But how, Lord, can a monk attain to such a concentration of mind? Here, Ananda, the monk is percipient thus. This is the peaceful, this is the sublime, namely, the stilling of all formations, the relinquishment of all acquisitions, the destruction of craving, dispassion, cessation, nirvana. It is in this way, Ananda, that a monk may attain to such a concentration of mind. Once the Venerable Ananda approached the Venerable Sariputta and asked, "Can it be, friend Sariputta, that a monk attains to such a concentration of mind that in earth He is not percipient of earth, nor is he percipient of this world, or a world beyond, but yet he is percipient. Yes, friend Ananda, he can attain to such a concentration of mind. But how, friend Sariputta, can a monk attain to such a concentration of mind? Once, friend Ananda, I lived here in Savatthi, in the dark forest. There I attained to such a concentration of mind that in earth I was not percipient of earth, nor was I percipient of this world or a world beyond, and yet I was percipient. But what what was the Venerable Sariputta percipient of on that occasion? Nibbana is cessation of becoming. Nibbana is cessation of becoming. One such perception arose in me, and another such perception ceased. Just as, friend Ananda, from a fire of faggots, one flame arises and another flame ceases, even so, Nibbana is cessation of becoming. Nibbana is cessation of becoming. One such perception arose in me, and another such perception ceased. On that occasion, friend, I perceived that Nibbana is a cessation of becoming. The Buddha's lions roar. Monks, the lion, the king of beasts, comes forth from his lair in the evening. Then he stretches himself, surveys the four directions all around, and roars 3 times his lion's roar. And why? He does so with the thought, may I not cause the death of small creatures that have gone astray. The lion. This, monks, is a name for the Tathagata, the Arahant, the fully enlightened one. When, monks, the Tathagata expounds the Dhamma in an assembly, that is his lion's roar. There are, monks, these 10 Tathagata powers of a Tathagata, endowed with which the Tathagata claims the foremost rank, utters his lion's roar in the assemblies, and sets rolling the supreme wheel of the Dharma. What are these 10 Tathagata powers? Here, the Tathagata understands, as it really is, cause as cause and non-cause as non-cause. This is a Tathagata power of the Tathagata, by reason of which he claims the foremost rank, utters his lion's roar in the assemblies, and sets rolling the supreme wheel of the Dharma. Again, the Tathagata understands, as it really is, by way of cause and root condition, the result of past, future, and present actions that are performed. This too is a Tathagata power of the Tathagata. Again, the Tathagata understands, as it really is, the way leading to all destinies. This too is a Tathagata's power of the Tathagata. Again, the Tathagata understands, as it really is, the world with its many and different elements. This too is the Tathagata power of the Tathagata. Again, the Tathagata understands, as it really is, the different dispositions of beings. This too is the Tathagata power of the Tathagata. Again, the Tathagata understands, as it really is, the inferior and superior condition of the faculties of other beings, of other persons. This too is a Tathagata power of the Tathagata. Again, the Tathagata understands, as it really is, with regard to the jhanas, the liberations, the concentrations, and the meditative attainments, their defects and purity, and the emergence from them. This too is a Tathagata power of the Tathagata. Again, the Tathagata recollects his manifold past lives, that is to say, 1 birth, 2 births, 3 births, 4 births, 5 births, 10 births, 20 births, 30 births, 40 births, 50 births, 100 births, 1,000 births, 100,000 births, many eons of world contraction, many eons of world expansion, many eons of world contraction and expansion, thus, with their aspects and particulars, he recollects his manifold past lives. This too is a Tathagata power of the Tathagata. Again, with the divine I, which is purified and surpasses the human, the Tathagata sees beings passing away and reappearing, inferior and superior, fair and ugly, of good or bad destination. He understands beings as faring according to their deeds. This too is a Tathagata power of a Tathagata. Again, the Tathagata, by the destruction of the taints in this very life, enters and dwells in the taintless liberation of mind, liberation by wisdom, having realized it for himself by direct knowledge. This too is a Tathagata power of the Tathagata, by reason of which he claims the foremost rank. Roars his lion's roar in the assemblies and sets rolling the supreme wheel of the Dharma. These monks are the 10 Tathagata powers of the Tathagata, endowed with which the Tathagata claims the foremost rank. Roars his lion's roar in the assemblies and sets rolling the supreme wheel of the Dharma. Doctrinal Terms. Once the Venerable Ananda approached the Blessed One, and after paying homage to him, sat down to one side. The Blessed One then addressed the Venerable Ananda thus: "Here, Ananda, I am confident about those things that lead to the realization by direct knowledge of the various doctrinal terms, and I claim to teach the Dharma about these matters in such a way that a person who acts accordingly will know the real as being real and the unreal as being unreal. He will know the inferior as being inferior and the excellent as being excellent. He will know what can be surpassed as being surpassable, and the unsurpassable as being unsurpassable. And there is the possibility that he will know, understand, and realize it just as it ought to be known, understood, and realized. But that Ananda is the highest knowledge, namely, the knowledge of these things as they really are. And I say, Ananda, there is no knowledge higher and more excellent than this. Universal impermanence. Monks, as far as there are Kasi and Kosala people, as far as the realm of King Pasenadi of Kosala extends, King Pasenadi of Kosala ranks as the highest. But even for King Pasenadi, change takes place, transformation takes place. When seeing this, monks, an instructed noble disciple, is repelled by it. Being repelled, he becomes dispassionate towards the highest, not to speak of what is low. Monks, as far as sun and moon revolve and illuminate all directions by their radiance, so far does the thousandfold world system extend. And in that thousandfold world system, there are 1,000 moons, 1,000 suns, 1,000 Mount Sunerus, the king of mountains, 1,000 Jambudipa continents, 1,000 Western Guyana continents, 1,000 Northern Kuru continents, 1,000 Eastern Videha continents, 1,000 four great oceans, 1,000 four divine kings and their heavens, 1,000 each of the heavens of the Tavatimsa Devas, of the Yama Devas, of the Tusita Devas, of the Nimarati Devas, of the Paranimitavasavati Devas, and there are 1,000 Brahma worlds. As far, monks, as this thousandfold world system extends, Mahabrahma ranks there as the highest. But even for Mahabrahma, change takes place, transformation takes place. When seeing this, monks, an instructed noble disciple is repelled by it. Being repelled, he becomes dispassionate towards the highest, not to speak of what is low. There will be a time, monks, when this world comes to an end, and at that time, beings are generally reborn among the devas of streaming radiance. There they live, made of mind, feeding on joy, radiating light from themselves, traversing the skies, living in glory, and thus they remain for a very long time. When the world comes to an end, monks, these devas of streaming radiance rank as the highest. But even for these devas, change takes place, transformation takes place. When seeing this, monks, an instructed noble disciple is repelled by it. Being repelled, he becomes dispassionate towards the highest, not to speak of what is low. Monks, there are the 10 kasina devices. What are the 10? Someone perceives the earth kasina, above, below, on all sides, undivided, unbounded. Another person perceives the water kasina, the fire kasina, the wind kasina, the blue, yellow, red, white kasina, the space kasina, the consciousness kasina, above, below, on all sides, undivided, unbounded. These are the 10 kasina devices. Among these 10, this is the highest. When one perceives the consciousness kasina, above, below, on all sides, undivided, unbounded. There are indeed monks, persons who perceive in such a way, but even for them, change takes place, transformation takes place. When seeing this, monks, an instructed noble disciple is repelled by it. Being repelled, he becomes dispassionate towards it, dispassionate towards the highest, not to speak of what is low. Monks, there are 8 stages of mastery. What are the 8? Perceiving forms internally. One sees forms externally, small ones, beautiful or ugly, and in mastering them, one understands. I know, I see. This is the first stage of mastery. Not perceiving forms internally, one sees forms externally, white forms of white color, white appearance, white luster, and mastering these, one understands. I know, I see. This is the 8th stage of mastery. Among these 8, the last is the highest. There are indeed monks, persons who perceive in such a way, but even for them, change takes place, transformation takes place. When seeing this, monks, an instructed noble disciple is repelled by it. Being repelled, he becomes dispassionate towards the highest, not to speak of what is low. Monks, there are 4 modes of progress. The mode of progress that is painful, with sluggish, direct knowledge. The mode of progress that is painful, with quick, direct knowledge. The mode of progress that is pleasant, with sluggish, direct knowledge. And the mode of progress that is pleasant, with quick, direct knowledge. Among these 4, the highest is the mode of progress that is pleasant, with quick, direct knowledge. There are indeed monks, those who make progress in such a way, but even for them, change takes place, transformation takes place. When seeing this, monks, an instructed noble disciple is repelled by it. Being repelled, he becomes dispassionate towards the highest, not to speak of what is low. Monks, there are 4 modes of perception. One person perceives what is limited, another perceives what is exalted, another perceives what is measureless, and still another aware that there is nothing, perceives the base of nothingness. Among these four modes of perception, the highest is when, aware that there is nothing, one perceives the base of nothingness. There are indeed, monks, those who perceive in such a way, but even for them, change takes place, transformation takes place. When seeing this, monks, an instructed noble disciple is repelled by it. Being repelled, he becomes dispassionate towards the highest, not to speak of what is low. Monks, among the views of outsiders, this is the highest. I might not be, and it might not be mine. I shall not be, and it will not be mine. For one, monks, who has such a view, it can be expected that he will not feel attracted to becoming, and will have no aversion against the cessation of becoming. There are, indeed, monks, those who have such a view, but even for them change takes place, transformation takes place. When seeing this, monks, an instructed noble disciple is repelled by it. Being repelled, he becomes dispassionate towards the highest, not to speak of what is low. Monks, there are some ascetics and Brahmins who teach an ultimate purification. Those who teach an ultimate purification regard it as the highest if, after transcending the base of nothingness, one enters into and dwells in the base of neither perception nor non-perception. They teach their doctrine for the direct knowledge and realization of that. There are indeed monks, those who teach thus, but even for them, change takes place, transformation takes place. When seeing this, monks, an instructed noble disciple, is repelled by it. Being repelled, he becomes dispassionate towards the highest, not to speak of what is low. Monks, there are some ascetics and Brahmins who teach the supreme Nibbana in this very life. To those who teach the supreme Nibbana in this very life, the highest is the liberation without clinging, attained after seeing the six bases of contact as they really are, namely, their arising and passing away, the gratification and danger in them, and the escape from them. And though I teach and proclaim thus, some ascetics and Brahmins wrongly, baselessly, falsely, and incorrectly misrepresents me thus. The ascetic Gautama does not teach the full understanding of sensual pleasures, nor of forms, nor of feelings. But, monks, I do teach the full understanding of sensual pleasures, and of forms, and of feelings, and being stilled, quenched, and cooled, even in this very life, I proclaim the supreme Nibbana that is free from clinging. King Pasenadi's homage to the Buddha. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's monastery. At that time, King Pasenadi of Kosala had returned from a sham battle. Having been victorious and having achieved his purpose, the king then set out in the direction of the monastery. He rode by chariot as far as the road went. Then he alighted from his chariot and entered the monastery on foot. At that time, a number of monks were walking up and down in the open. The king approached them and asked, "Where, venerable sirs, is the Blessed One staying now?" "He is staying in the lodging there, great king, where the door is shut. You may go there quietly and without haste. Then enter the veranda, clear your throat, and knock with the door bar. The Blessed One will open the door for you." The king did as he was told, and the Blessed One opened the door for the king. Having entered the dwelling, King Pasenadi bent low before the Blessed One, with his head on the ground, and kissed the Blessed One's feet, embracing them with his hands. Then he announced his name. "I am Pasenadi, Lord, the King of Kosala. I am Pasenadi, Lord, the King of Kosala." "But, great king, what reason do you see for showing to this body such profound humility, and for offering it such loving devotion?" "To express my grateful thanks, Lord, for that reason do I show to the Blessed One such profound humility, and offer him my loving devotion." "The Blessed One, Lord, lives for the welfare of the multitude, for the happiness of the multitude. He has established many people in the noble way, in good and wholesome principles. It is for this reason, Lord, that I show to the Blessed One such profound humility, and offer him my loving devotion." "Again, Lord, the Blessed One is virtuous, of mature virtue, of noble virtue, of wholesome virtue. He is endowed with wholesome virtue. It is for this reason, Lord, that I show to the Blessed One such profound humility, and offer him my loving devotion." "Again, Lord, the Blessed One has been a forest dweller for a long time. He resorts to remote forest lands, to secluded dwellings. It is for this reason, Lord, that I show to the Blessed One such profound humility, and offer him my loving devotion." "Again, Lord, the Blessed One is content with whatever robes, alms food, lodging, and medicinal requisites he receives. It is for this reason, Lord, that I show to the Blessed One such profound humility, and offer him my loving devotion." "Again, Lord, the Blessed One is worthy of gifts, worthy of hospitality, worthy of offerings, worthy of reverential salutation, being the unsurpassed field of merit for the world. It is for this reason, Lord, that I show to the Blessed One such profound humility, and offer him my loving devotion." "Again, Lord, The Blessed One obtains at will, without trouble or difficulty, the opportunity for talk that befits an austere life and is helpful to mental clarity. That is to say, talk on fewness of wishes, on contentment, on solitude, on seclusion, on application of energy, on virtue, concentration, wisdom, liberation, and the knowledge and vision of liberation. It is for this reason, Lord, that I show to the Blessed One such profound humility and offer him my loving devotion. Again, Lord, the Blessed One attains at will, without trouble or difficulty, the 4 jhanas, which pertain to the higher mind and are pleasant dwellings in this very life. It is for this reason, Lord, that I show to the Blessed One such profound humility and offer him my loving devotion. Again, Lord, the Blessed One recollects his manifold past lives. It is for this reason, Lord, that I show to the Blessed One such profound humility and offer him my loving devotion. Again, Lord, with the divine eye, which is purified and surpasses the human, the Blessed One sees beings passing away and reappearing. It is for this reason, Lord, that I show to the Blessed One such profound humility and offer him my loving devotion. And again, Lord, the Blessed One, by the destruction of the taints in this very life, enters and dwells in the taintless liberation of mind, liberation by wisdom, having realized it for himself by direct knowledge. It is for this reason, Lord, that I show to the Blessed One such profound humility and offer him my loving devotion. But now, Lord, we must go. We have much work and many duties. Do as you think fit, great King. And King Pasenadi of Kosala rose from his seat, paid homage to the Blessed One, and respectfully, and keeping him to his right, he departed. Self-examination. If, O monks, a monk is not skilled in knowing the ways of others' minds, he should resolve, I must become skilled in knowing the ways of my own mind. Thus, monks, should you train yourselves. And how is a monk skilled in knowing the ways of his own mind? It is just as if a woman or a man, young, youthful, and fond of ornaments, would look at their face in a clean, bright mirror or in a bowl of clear water. If they then see any dust or dirt, they will make all effort to remove it. But if no dust or dirt is seen, they will be glad about it, and their wish satisfied. They will think, how good I am, clean. Similarly, monks, for a monk, self-examination is very helpful for the growth of wholesome qualities. Am I often covetous, or often not covetous? Do I often have ill will in my heart, Or am I often free of it? Am I often immersed in sloth and torpor? Or am I often free of it? Am I excited or often free of excitement? Am I often in doubt or often free of doubt? Am I often angry or often free of anger? Is my mind often defiled by unwholesome thoughts or often free of defilement? Is my body often restless or often free of restlessness? Am I often lazy or often energetic? Am I often unconcentrated or often concentrated? When, by such self-examination, a monk finds that he is often covetous, full of ill will, slothful, excited, doubtful, angry, mentally defiled, bodily restless, lazy, and unconcentrated, then he should apply his utmost zeal and energy, effort, and exertion, as well as unremitting mindfulness and clear comprehension, to the abandoning of all those evil, unwholesome qualities. Just as a man whose clothes or turban are on fire would apply his utmost zeal and energy, effort and exertion, as well as mindfulness and clear comprehension, so that he may extinguish the fire, even so the monk should apply his utmost zeal and energy for the abandoning of those evil, unwholesome qualities. But if, on examining himself, the monk finds that he is more often without covetousness and ill will, more often free from sloth and torpor, free from excitement and doubt, more often free from anger, and finds that his mind is more often undefiled and his body free of restlessness, that he is more often energetic and well concentrated, then, grounding himself firmly in all these wholesome qualities, he should make a further effort for the destruction of the taints. Do not stagnate. I do not approve, monks, of stagnation in things wholesome, not to speak of a decline. It is growth in things unwholesome that I praise, and not stagnation, not decline in them. The roots of everything. It may be, O monks, that wandering ascetics of another persuasion might ask you, in what are all things rooted? How do they come to actual existence? Where do they arise? Where do they converge? What is the foremost in all things? What is their master? What is the highest of all things? What is the essence in all things? Where do all things merge? Where do they end? If you are thus questioned, monks, you should reply as follows. All things are rooted in desire. They come to actual existence through attention, originate from contact, and converge on feelings. The foremost of all things is concentration. All things are mastered by mindfulness. Their peak is wisdom, their essence, liberation. All things merge in the deathless, and Nibbana is their culmination. The Spirit of Monkhood. O monks, you should train yourselves thus in the spirit of our going forth. Should our mind be strengthened, no evil, unwholesome thoughts should persist, obsessing our minds. In the perception of impermanence shall our mind be strengthened. In the perception of non-self shall our mind be strengthened. In the perception of foulness shall our mind be strengthened. In the perception of danger shall our mind be strengthened. In knowing the even and uneven ways of the world shall our mind be strengthened. In knowing growth and decline in the world shall our mind be strengthened. In knowing the origination and the passing away of the world shall our mind be strengthened. In the perception of abandoning shall our mind be strengthened. In the perception of dispassion shall our mind be strengthened. In the perception of cessation shall our mind be strengthened. In such a way, monks, should you train yourselves. When a monk's mind is strengthened in all these ways, one of two fruits may be expected. Either final knowledge in this present life, or else, if there is a residue of clinging, the stage of non-returning. Ignorance and craving. The first beginning of ignorance, O monks, cannot be discerned, of which it can be said, before that there was no ignorance, and it came to be after that. Though this is so, monks, yet a specific condition of ignorance is discerned. Ignorance, too, has its nutriment, I declare, and it is not without a nutriment. And what is the nutriment of ignorance? The 5 hindrances should be the answer. A first beginning of the craving for becoming, O monks, cannot be discerned, of which it can be said, before that there was no craving for becoming, and it came to be after that. Though this is so, monks, yet a specific condition for the craving for becoming is discerned. The craving for becoming, too, has its nutriment, I declare, and it is not without a nutriment. And what is the nutriment of the craving for becoming? Ignorance should be the answer. But ignorance, too, has its nutriment. It is not without a nutriment. And what is the nutriment of ignorance? The 5 hindrances should be the answer. But the 5 hindrances, too, have their nutriment, monks. They are not without a nutriment. And what is the nutriment of the 5 hindrances? The 3 ways of wrong conduct, should be the answer. The three ways of wrong conduct, too, have their nutriment. They are not without a nutriment. And what is their nutriment? Lack of sense restraint should be the answer. Lack of sense restraint, too, has its nutriment. It is not without a nutriment. And what is its nutriment? Lack of mindfulness and clear comprehension should be the answer. Lack of mindfulness and clear comprehension, too, has its nutriment. It is not without a nutriment. And what is the nutriment of the lack of mindfulness and clear comprehension? Improper attention should be the answer. Improper attention, too, has its nutriment. It is not without a nutriment. And what is the nutriment of improper attention? Lack of faith should be the answer. Lack of faith, too, has its nutriment. It is not without a nutriment. And what is the nutriment of the lack of faith? Listening to the wrong teachings should be the answer. Listening to the wrong teachings, too, has its nutriment. It is not without a nutriment. And what is the nutriment of listening to wrong teachings? Association with bad people should be the answer. Hence, when association with bad people prevails, listening to wrong teachings will prevail. When listening to wrong teachings prevails, it will make lack of faith prevail. When lack of faith prevails, it will make improper attention prevail. When improper attention prevails, it will make lack of mindfulness and clear comprehension prevail. When lack of mindfulness and clear comprehension prevails, it will make lack of sense restraint prevail. When lack of sense restraint prevails, it will make the three ways of wrong conduct prevail. When the three ways of wrong conduct prevail, they will make the five hindrances prevail. When the five hindrances prevail, they will make ignorance prevail. When ignorance prevails, it will make the craving for becoming prevail. Such is the nutriment of that ignorance, of that craving for becoming, and so it prevails. Just as when there is heavy rain high up in the mountains and the sky is rumbling, the water flowing downwards will fill up the clefts, crevices, and fissures in the mountains, and when these are full, they will fill up the little pools. The full little pools will fill up the lakes. The full lakes will fill up the small rivers. The full small rivers will fill up the big rivers, and the full big rivers will fill up the great ocean. Such is the nutriment of the great ocean, and so it becomes full. In the same way, monks, when association with bad people prevails, listening to wrong teachings will prevail. When the five hindrances prevail, ignorance and the craving for becoming will prevail. Such is the nutriment of ignorance and of the craving for becoming, and so it prevails. Liberation by supreme knowledge, too, O monks, has its nutriment, I declare. It is not without a nutriment. And what is the nutriment of liberation by supreme knowledge? The 7 factors of enlightenment should be the answer. The 7 factors of enlightenment, too, have their nutriment, I declare. They are not without a nutriment. And what is the nutriment of the 7 factors of enlightenment? The 4 foundations of mindfulness should be the answer. The four foundations of mindfulness, too, have their nutriment. They are not without a nutriment. And what is the nutriment of the four foundations of mindfulness? The three ways of good conduct should be the answer. The three ways of good conduct, too, have their nutriment. They are not without a nutriment. And what is the nutriment of the three ways of good conduct? Restraint of the senses should be the answer. Restraint of the senses, too, has its nutriment. It is not without a nutriment. And what is the nutriment of restraint of the senses? Mindfulness and clear comprehension should be the answer. Mindfulness and clear comprehension, too, have their nutriment. They are not without a nutriment. And what is the nutriment of mindfulness and clear comprehension? Proper attention should be the answer. Proper attention, too, has its nutriment. It is not without a nutriment. And what is the nutriment of proper attention? Faith should be the answer. Faith, too, has its nutriment. It is not without a nutriment. And what is the nutriment of faith? Listening to the true Dharma should be the answer. Listening to the true Dharma, too, has its nutriment. It is not without a nutriment. And what is the nutriment of listening to the true Dharma? Association with superior people should be the answer. Hence, when association with superior people prevails, it will make prevail the listening to the true Dharma. When the 7 factors of enlightenment prevail, they will make prevail liberation by supreme knowledge. Such is the nutriment of that liberation by supreme knowledge, and so it prevails. Just as when there is heavy rain high up in the mountains, and the sky is rumbling, the water flowing downwards will fill up the clefts, crevices, and fissures in the mountains. And when these are full, they will fill up the little pools. The full little pools will fill up the lakes. The full lakes will fill up the small rivers. The full small rivers will fill up the big rivers. And the full big rivers will fill up the great ocean. Such is the nutriment of the great ocean, and so it becomes full. In the same way, monks, when association with superior people prevails, listening to the true Dharma will prevail. When listening to the true Dharma prevails, faith will prevail. When faith prevails, proper attention will prevail. When proper attention prevails, mindfulness and clear comprehension will prevail. When mindfulness and clear comprehension prevail, restraint of the senses will prevail. When restraint of the senses prevails, the three ways of good conduct will prevail. When the three ways of good conduct prevail, the four foundations of mindfulness will prevail. When the four foundations of mindfulness prevail, the 7 factors of enlightenment will prevail. When the 7 factors of enlightenment prevail, liberation by supreme knowledge will prevail. Such is the nutriment of that liberation by supreme knowledge, and so it prevails. Happiness and suffering. On one occasion, the Venerable Sariputta was dwelling in Magadha, in the village Nalaka. On that occasion, Samandakani, a wandering ascetic, approached him and asked, "What, friend Sariputta, is happiness, and what is suffering?" To be reborn, friend, is suffering. Not to be reborn is happiness. Birth, old age, and death. If, O monks, three things were not to be found in the world, the Tathagata, the Arahant, the fully enlightened one, would not appear in the world, nor would the Dharma and discipline proclaimed by him shed its light over the world. What are these three things? Birth, old age, and death. But since these three things are to be found in the world, the Tathagata appears in the world, the Arahant, the fully enlightened one, and the Dharma and discipline proclaimed by him sheds its light over the world. Without abandoning three things, one is unable to abandon birth, old age, and death. What are these three? Greed, hatred, and delusion. Without abandoning these three things, one is unable to abandon birth, old age, and death. Without abandoning three things, one is unable to abandon greed, hatred, and delusion. They are personality view, skeptical doubt, and clinging to rules and vows. Without abandoning three things, one is unable to abandon personality view, skeptical doubt, and clinging to rules and vows. They are improper attention, pursuing wrong ways, and mental lassitude. Without abandoning three things, one is unable to abandon improper attention, the pursuing of wrong ways, and mental lassitude. They are unmindfulness, lack of clear comprehension, and the mental distraction. Without abandoning three things, one is unable to abandon unmindfulness, lack of clear comprehension, and mental distraction. They are disinterest in seeing noble ones, disinterest in listening to their teachings, and a fault-finding mentality. Without abandoning three things, one is unable to abandon lack of interest in seeing noble ones, disinterest in listening to their teachings, and a fault-finding mentality. They are restlessness, lack of restraint, and immorality. Without abandoning three things, one is unable to abandon restlessness, lack of self-control, and immorality. They are lack of faith, unfriendliness, and laziness. Without abandoning three things, one is unable to abandon lack of faith, unfriendliness, and laziness. They are disrespect, stubbornness, and bad friendships. Without abandoning three things, one is unable to abandon disrespect, stubbornness, and bad friendships. They are shamelessness, lack of moral dread, and negligence. There is a person, monks, who is shameless, morally reckless, and negligent. Being negligent, he cannot abandon disrespect, stubbornness, and bad friendships. Having bad friends, he cannot abandon lack of faith, unfriendliness, and laziness. Being lazy, he cannot abandon restlessness, lack of restraint, and immorality. Being immoral, he cannot abandon disinterest in seeing noble ones, disinterest in listening to their teachings, and the fault-finding mentality. Being a fault-finder, he cannot abandon unmindfulness, lack of clear comprehension, and mental distraction. Having a distracted mind, he cannot abandon improper attention, the pursuit of wrong ways, and mental lassitude. With mental lassitude, he cannot abandon personality view, skeptical doubt, and clinging to rules and vows. Troubled by skeptical doubt, he cannot abandon greed, hatred, and delusion. And without giving up greed, hatred, and delusion, he cannot abandon birth, old age, and death. But by abandoning three things, one is able to abandon birth, old age, and death. What are these three? They are greed, hatred, and delusion. By abandoning them, one is able to abandon birth, old age, and death. By abandoning three things, one is able to abandon greed, hatred, and delusion. They are personality view, skeptical doubt, and clinging to rules and vows. By abandoning three things, one is able to abandon disrespect, stubbornness, and bad friendships. They are shamelessness, lack of moral dread, and negligence. There is a person, monks, who is conscientious, scrupulous, and diligent. Being diligent, he can abandon disrespect, stubbornness, and bad friendships. Having noble friends, he can abandon lack of faith, unfriendliness, and laziness. Being energetic, he can abandon restlessness, lack of restraint, and immorality. Being virtuous, he can abandon disinterest in seeing noble ones, disinterest in listening to their teachings, and a fault-finding mentality. Not being a fault-finder, he can abandon unmindfulness, lack of clear comprehension, and mental distraction. Having an undistracted mind, he can abandon improper attention, pursuit of wrong ways, and mental lassitude. Being without mental lassitude, he can abandon personality view, skeptical doubt, and clinging to rules and vows. Being free from doubt, he can abandon greed, hatred, and delusion. Having abandoned greed, hatred, and delusion, he can abandon birth, old age, and death. A discriminative teaching. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling near Kampa, on the bank of the Gagara lotus pond. One day the householder Vajrayamahita left Kampa at an early hour in order to see the Blessed One. Then he thought, it is not the right time to visit the Blessed One, who will now be in seclusion, nor is it the proper time to visit the venerable monks. They too will be in seclusion. Let me now go to the park where the wandering ascetics of another persuasion stay. When Vajrayamahita, the householder, arrived at the park, those wanderers were gathered there in company and were sitting together, shouting and speaking loudly, engaged in divers kinds of low talk. But when they saw Vajrayamahita, the householder, approaching in the distance, they admonished each other to be quiet, saying, "Make less noise, your reverences, and be quiet." Here the householder Vajrayamahita is coming, a disciple of the ascetic Gautama. He is one of the white-clad lay disciples of the ascetic Gautama, who stays now at Kampa. These worthy ones do not like much noise. They are used to being noiseless, and they praise noiselessness. Perhaps, if Vajrayamahita sees our group to be quiet, he may think of coming here. These wandering ascetics now kept silent. When the householder Vajrayamahita arrived there, he exchanged polite greetings and cordial talk with them, and sat down at one side. When he was seated, the wanderers asked him, "Is it true, householder, what they say, that the ascetic Gautama blames all asceticism, and that he unreservedly condemns and reproves all ascetics who live a harsh and austere life?" "No, venerable sirs, the Blessed One does not blame all asceticism, nor does he unreservedly condemn and reprove all ascetics living a harsh and austere life. What is blameworthy, the Blessed One blames. What is praiseworthy, he praises. By blaming what is blameworthy and praising what is praiseworthy, the Blessed One teaches with discrimination. He does not teach here in a one-sided way. At these words, a certain wanderer said this to the householder Vajrayamahita. "Wait a moment, householder. That ascetic Gautama, whom you praise so much, is a nihilist, and he is one who refrains from making any definite declarations." "About that too, venerable sir, I shall speak to your reverences according to the Dhamma. The Blessed One, venerable sir, declares that some things are wholesome and other things unwholesome. The Blessed One, having thus declared what is wholesome and what is unwholesome, is in fact one who makes definite declarations. He is not a nihilist, nor one who refrains from making definite declarations." At these words the wanderers kept silent, embarrassed, sitting there with slumping shoulders and heads lowered, brooding and unable to utter a word. When Vajrayamahita saw them in that condition, he rose from his seat and left to see the Blessed One. Having arrived, after saluting the Blessed One, he told them of his conversation with these wanderers of another persuasion, and the Blessed One said, "Good, householder, good. In that way, householder, should such foolish persons, when occasion offers, be well refuted by you, according to the Dharma." I do not say, householder, that all asceticism should be practiced, nor do I say of all asceticism that it should not be practiced. I do not say that all undertakings should be performed, nor do I say of all undertakings that they should not be performed. I do not say that every spiritual effort should be done, or every act of renunciation be carried out. Nor do I say of every spiritual effort that it should not be done, nor of every act of renunciation that it should not be carried out. I do not say that one should free oneself by every kind of freedom, nor do I say of every kind of freedom that one should not free oneself by it. What I declare, householder, is that such an asceticism should not be practiced, which makes unwholesome states grow and wholesome states wane. But I declare an asceticism which makes unwholesome states wane and wholesome states grow should be practiced. If, in performing undertakings, making spiritual efforts, carrying out acts of renunciation, freeing oneself by certain kinds of freedom, unwholesome states grow, then I declare all these practices should not be carried out. But if in performing undertakings, making spiritual efforts, carrying out acts of renunciation, freeing oneself by certain kinds of freedom, unwholesome states wane and wholesome states grow, then I declare all these practices should be carried out. Then Vajrayamahita, the householder, thus instructed by the Blessed One's Dhamma talk, roused by it, inspired and gladdened, rose from his seat, saluted the Blessed One respectfully, and keeping him to his right, departed. Soon after he had left, the Blessed One addressed the monks thus: Monks, even a monk who has had for a long time clear vision as to this Dharma and discipline would well refute those wanderers of another persuasion in the very same way that the householder Vajrayamahita has done. Will all beings attain liberation? On one occasion, a wandering ascetic named Uttiya approached the Blessed One. After exchanging greetings and cordial talk, he sat down to one side and asked the Blessed One, "How is it, Master Gotama? Is the world eternal? Is only this true and everything else false?" "This, Uttiya, I have not declared, that the world is eternal, and that only this is true and everything else false." "How then, Master Gotama, is the world non-eternal? Is only this true and everything else false?" "That too, Uttiya, I have not declared, that the world is non-eternal, and that only this is true and everything else false." "How is it, Master Gotama? Is the world finite or infinite? Are the life principle and the body the same or different? Does the Tathagata exist after death, or does he not exist after death? Does he exist as well as not exist, or neither exist nor not exist after death? Is any one of these statements the only one that is true and everything else false?" "All that, Uttiya, I have not declared, that the world is finite or infinite, that the Tathagata neither exists nor does exist after death, nor do I declare that any one of these statements is the only true one and everything else false. But how is it, Master Gotama? To all my questions you have replied that you have not so declared. What, after all, does Master Gautama actually declare? Having directly known it, Uttiya, I have taught the Dharma to my disciples for the purification of beings, for getting beyond sorrow and lamentation, for the ending of pain and grief, for attaining to the method of liberation, and for realizing Nibbana. But if Master Gautama, from direct knowledge, teaches the Dharma to his disciples for the purification of beings, for getting beyond sorrow and lamentation, for the ending of pain and grief, for attaining to the method of liberation, and for realizing Nirvana, will the whole world thereby be emancipated, or half of it, or a third part of it? At these words, the Blessed One kept silent. Then this thought occurred to the Venerable Ananda. May Uttiya the Wanderer not conceive a harmful opinion by thinking, when I asked the ascetic Gotama a question on an ultimate issue, he foundered and did not reply. Probably he was unable to do so, for such a view would bring harm and suffering to Uttiya for a long time. Then the Venerable Ananda turned to Uttiya, saying, I shall give you a simile, friend Uttiya, for with the help of a simile, intelligent people may come to understand the meaning of what was said. Suppose, friend Uttiya, there is a king's border town with strong ramparts and turrets on sound foundations, and with a single gate. There is also a gatekeeper, intelligent, experienced, and prudent, who keeps out people unknown, and admits only those who are known. That gatekeeper walks along the path that girdles the town all round, and while doing so he does not notice in the ramparts any hole or opening, not even one big enough for a cat to slip through. Though he does not have the knowledge of how many creatures enter the town or leave it, yet he does know this. Any larger creatures that enter or leave this town can do so only by this gate. Similarly, friend Uttiya, the Tathagata is not concerned with whether the entire world will be emancipated by his teaching, or half of it, or a third part. But the Tathagata is aware that whosoever has been emancipated is now emancipated, or will be emancipated from the world. All these will do so by removing the 5 hindrances that defile the mind and weaken understanding, by firmly establishing their minds in the 4 foundations of mindfulness, and by cultivating the 7 factors of enlightenment in their true nature. That same question, friend Uttiya, which you had asked the Blessed One before, you have asked him again in another way. Not outside the Buddha's discipline. 10 things, monks, to not have purity and clarity outside the discipline of the Sublime Master. What are the 10? Right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration, right knowledge, and right liberation. And if these 10 things have not arisen, they will not arise outside the discipline of the Sublime Master. Outside the discipline of the Sublime Master, these 10 things will not be of great fruit and benefit. Outside the discipline of the Sublime Master, these 10 things will not end in the elimination of greed, hatred, and delusion. Outside the discipline of the Sublime Master, these 10 things will not conduce to complete disenchantment, dispassion, cessation, peace, direct knowledge, enlightenment, and Nibbana. The concatenation of karma, the destruction of life, monks, I declare to be threefold, as caused by greed, caused by hatred, caused by delusion. So too, taking what is not given, sexual misconduct, false speech, divisive speech, harsh speech, frivolous chatter, covetousness, ill will, and wrong view, I declare to be threefold, as caused by greed, caused by hatred, and caused by delusion. Hence, monks, greed is a producer of karmic concatenation. Hatred is a producer of karmic concatenation. Delusion is a producer of karmic concatenation. But by the destruction of greed, hatred, and delusion, there is the exhaustion of karmic concatenation. The extinction of karma. I declare, monks, that actions willed, performed, and accumulated will not become extinct as long as their results have not been experienced, be it in this life, in the next life, or in subsequent future lives. And as long as these results of actions willed, performed, and accumulated have not been experienced, there will be no making an end to suffering, I declare. There are, monks, tainted failures in living caused by unwholesome volition, issuing in suffering, resulting in suffering. These tainted failures are threefold in bodily acts, fourfold in verbal acts, and threefold in mental acts. How are these tainted failures in living caused by unwholesome volition, threefold in bodily acts? There is a person who destroys life. He is cruel, and his hands are blood-stained. He is bent on slaying and murdering, having no compassion for any living being. He takes what is not given to him, appropriates with thievish intent the property of others, be it in the village or the forest. He conducts himself wrongly in matters of sex. He has intercourse with those under the protection of father, mother, brother, sister, relatives, or clan, or of their religious community, or with those promised to a husband, protected by law, and even with those betrothed with a garland. In this way, tainted failure in living is threefold in bodily acts. And how is tainted failure in living fourfold in verbal acts? There is one who is a liar when he is in the council of his community or in another assembly or among his relatives, his guild, in the royal court, or when he has been summoned as a witness and is asked to tell what he knows. Then, though he does not know, he will say, I know. Though he does know, he will say, I do not know. Though he has not seen, he will say, I have seen. And though he has seen, he will say, I have not seen. In that way, he utters deliberate lies, be it for his own sake, for the sake of others, or for some material advantage. He utters divisive speech. What he hears here, he reports elsewhere to foment conflict there. And what he hears elsewhere, he reports here to foment conflict here. Thus he creates discord among those united, and he incites still more those who are in discord. He is fond of dissension. He delights and rejoices in it, and he utters words that cause dissension. He speaks harshly, using speech that is coarse, rough, bitter, and abusive, that makes others angry and causes distraction of mind. It is such speech that he utters. He indulges in frivolous chatter. He speaks what is untimely, unreasonable, and unbeneficial, having no connection with the Dharma or the discipline. His talk is not worth treasuring. It is inopportune, inadvisable, unrestrained, and harmful. In this way, tainted failure in living is fourfold in verbal acts. And how is tainted failure in living threefold in mental acts? There is a person who is covetous. He covets the wealth and property of others, thinking, oh, that what he owns might belong to me. There is also one who has ill will in his heart. He has depraved thoughts such as these. Let these beings be slain. Let them be killed and destroyed. May they perish and cease to exist. He has wrong views and perverted ideas such as these. There is no moral value in a gift, offering, or sacrifice. There is no fruit or recompense from deeds, good or evil. There is neither this world nor another world. There are no duties towards mother and father. There are no spontaneously reborn beings. And there are no ascetics and Brahmins in this world, living and conducting themselves rightly, who can explain this world and the world beyond, having realized them by their own direct knowledge. In this way, tainted failure in living, which is caused by unwholesome volition, issuing in suffering and resulting in suffering, is threefold in mental acts. As to that tainted failure in living, which is threefold in bodily acts, fourfold in verbal acts, and threefold in mental acts, in which having been caused by unwholesome volition, issues in suffering, results in suffering. It is due to that very failure in living that with the breakup of the body after death, beings are reborn in the plane of misery, in a bad destination, in the lower world, in hell. Just as a perfect throw of dice, when thrown upwards, will come to rest firmly wherever it falls. Similarly, due to those tainted failures in living caused by unwholesome volition, beings will be reborn in the plane of misery, in hell. I declare, monks, that actions willed, performed, and accumulated will not become extinct as long as their results have not been experienced, be it in this life, in the next life, or in subsequent future or lives. And as long as these results of actions willed, performed, and accumulated have not been experienced, there will be no end to suffering, I declare. There are, monks, successes in living caused by wholesome volition, issuing in happiness, resulting in happiness. They are threefold in bodily acts, fourfold in verbal acts, and threefold in mental acts. How are the successes in living caused by wholesome volition threefold in bodily acts? There is a person who abstains from the destruction of life with the rod and weapon laid aside. He is conscientious and kindly, and dwells compassionate towards all living beings. He does not take what is not given to him, and does not appropriate with thievish intention the property of others, be it in the village or the forest. He gives up sexual misconduct and abstains from it. He does not have intercourse with those under the protection of father, mother, nor with those betrothed with a garland. In this way, success in living is threefold in bodily acts. And how is success in living fourfold in verbal acts? There is a person who has given up false speech and abstains from it when he is in the council of his community, or in another assembly, or among his relatives, his guild, in the royal court, or has been summoned as a witness and is asked to tell what he knows. Then, when he knows, he will say, I know. And when he does not know, he will say, I do not know. When he has seen, he will say, I have seen. And when he has not seen, he will say, I have not seen. He will not utter any deliberate lie, be it for his own sake, for the sake of others, or for some material advantage. He has given up divisive speech and abstains from it. What he has heard here, he will not report elsewhere to foment conflict there. And what he has heard elsewhere, he will not report here to foment conflict here. In that way, he unites those who are divided and encourages those who are in harmony. Concord gladdens him. He delights and rejoices in concord, and he utters words that foster concord. He has given up harsh speech and abstains from it. His words are gentle, pleasant to hear, endearing, heart-warming, courteous, agreeable to many folk, pleasing to many folk. He has given up vain talk and abstains from it. He speaks at the right time, in accordance with facts and of matters that are beneficial. He speaks on the Dharma and the discipline and talks in a way that is worth treasuring. His talk is opportune, helpful, moderate, and meaningful. In this way, success in living is fourfold in verbal acts. And how is success in living threefold in mental acts? Here, a person is free from covetousness. He does not covet the wealth and property of others, thinking, "Oh, that what he owns might belong to me." He has no ill will in his heart. He has pure thoughts and intentions, such as these. May these beings be free from enmity, free from anxiety. May they be untroubled and live happily. He has right view and a correct perspective, such as this. There is moral value in gifts, offerings, and sacrifice. There is fruit and recompense from deeds, good and or evil. There is both this world and another world. There are duties towards mother and father. There exist beings who have been spontaneously reborn. And there exist in this world ascetics and Brahmins, living and conducting themselves rightly, who can explain this world and the world beyond, having realized them by their own direct knowledge. In this way, success in living, which is caused by wholesome volition, is threefold in mental acts. As to that success in living, which is threefold in bodily acts, fourfold in verbal acts, and threefold in mental acts, and to which, having been caused by wholesome volition, issues in happiness, results in happiness, it is due to that very success in living that with the breakup of the body after death, beings are reborn in a good destination, in a heavenly world. Just as a perfect throw of dice, when thrown upwards, will come to rest firmly wherever it falls, similarly, due to the success in living caused by wholesome volition, beings will be reborn in a good destination, in a heavenly world. I declare, monks, that actions willed, performed, and accumulated will not become extinct as long as their results have not been experienced, be it in this life, in the next life, or in subsequent future lives. And as long as these results of actions willed, performed, and accumulated have not been experienced, there will be no making an end to suffering, I declare. The four boundless states. I declare, monks, that actions willed, performed, and accumulated will not become extinct as long as their results have not been experienced, be it in this life, in the next life, or in subsequent future lives. And as long as these results of actions, willed, performed, and accumulated, have not been experienced, there will be no making an end to suffering, I declare. But a noble disciple, devoid of covetousness, devoid of ill will, unconfused, clearly comprehending, ever mindful, dwells pervading one quarter, with a mind imbued with loving kindness. Likewise the second quarter, the third, and the fourth. Thus above, below, across and everywhere, and to all as to himself he dwells, pervading the entire world, with a mind imbued with loving kindness, vast, exalted, measureless, without hostility and without ill will. He knows, formerly my mind was narrow and undeveloped, but now my mind is measureless and well developed. No measurable karma will remain in it. None will persist there. What do you think, monks? If a young man, from his boyhood onwards, were to develop the liberation of the mind by loving kindness, would he then do an evil deed? He would not, Lord. And not doing any evil deed will suffer and afflict him. It will not, Lord. How could suffering afflict one who does no evil deeds? Indeed, monks, the liberation of the mind by loving kindness should be developed by a man or a woman. A man or a woman cannot take their body with them and depart. Mortals have consciousness as the connecting link. But the noble disciple knows, whatever evil deeds I did before with this physical body, their results will be experienced here, and they will not follow me along. Loving kindness, if developed in such a way, will lead to the state of non-returning. In the case of a monk who is established in the wisdom found here in this teaching, but who has not penetrated to a higher liberation, he dwells pervading one quarter with a mind imbued with compassion, with altruistic joy, with equanimity. Likewise the second quarter, the third, and the fourth. Thus above, below, across, and everywhere, and to all as to himself, he dwells pervading the entire world, with a mind imbued with compassion, altruistic joy, and equanimity, vast, exalted, measureless, without hostility and without ill will. He knows, formerly my mind was narrow and undeveloped, but now my mind is measureless and well developed. No measurable karma will remain in it. None will persist there. What do you think, monks, if a young man, from his boyhood onwards, were to develop compassion, altruistic joy, and equanimity, would he then do an evil deed? He would not, Lord. And not doing any evil deed will suffer and afflict him. It will not, Lord. How could suffering afflict one who does no evil deeds? Indeed, monks, the liberation of the mind by compassion, by altruistic joy, by equanimity, should be developed by a man or a woman. A man or a woman cannot take their body with them and depart. Mortals have consciousness as the connecting link. But the noble disciple knows, whatever evil deeds I did before with this physical body, their results will be experienced here, and they will not follow me along. Compassion, altruistic joy, and equanimity, if developed in such a way, will lead to the state of non-returning. In the case of a monk who is established in the wisdom found here in this teaching, but who has not penetrated to a higher liberation. The blessings of loving kindness. If, O monks, the liberation of the mind by loving kindness is developed and cultivated, frequently practiced, made one's vehicle and foundation, firmly established, consolidated, and properly undertaken, 11 blessings may be expected. What 11? 1 sleeps peacefully. 1 awakens peacefully. 1 sees no bad dreams. 1 is dear to human beings. 1 is dear to non-human beings. 1 will be protected by devas. Fire, poison, and weapons cannot injure one. One's mind becomes easily concentrated. One's facial complexion will be serene. One will die unconfused. And if one does not penetrate higher, one will be reborn in the Brahma world.